If we can get one more person in this room, it'll be official.
Up there. There he comes.
All right.
Joe D.
This meeting is now called to order. Mr. Deere.
Yes.
Would you provide the invocation?
Sure. Lord, we come together today to work together in fellowship with people and talk about everything we need to get going as Cherokee Nation moves forward in progression with our education. And thanks for everybody for attending today. Amen.
Thank you. Now, Shelley, would you do roll call?
Yes, sir. Keith Austin.
Here.
Wes Snowfire.
On in.
Carter Baker. Here. Joe Bird. Julia Coates. Here. Sean Crittenden. Joe Deere.
Aye.
Mike Dobbins.
Here.
Hayden Duncan. Rex Jordan. Daryl Legg.
Here.
Dora Paskowski.
Here.
Mike Shambaugh. Here. Mary Bakershaw.
Ani.
Leo Smith.
Here.
Denise Taylor.
Here.
Thank you, Shelley. Now, I need a motion to approve the minutes which have been provided to you.
Second.
Thank you. We've got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And we have reports. Miss Diane Kelly representing vocational programs, clocking leaves, job center, and career services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
1 second.
I just wanted to.
1 second, madam.
I just want to recognize it's Miss Kelly's birthday.
Yeah.
You don't have to do this again. I'm not having any more.
22.
This is it, yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, thank you. I just want to report that we are saddened at the loss of one of our residential advisors at Talking Leaves. He was on his way to work last Thursday, I believe, and, you know, it was raining, and he lives in Adair County, but he's originally from Cherokee County, Sean Braun. He's one of our residential advisors, and anyway, it was a traffic accident, and his services are pending, so if you would, keep the family in your prayers. Just wanted to report that last month I shared with you that Talking Leaves was given a notification about their boundaries. When I got back from Intertribal, I spoke with Mr. Rogers, who's our project officer, and Deborah had been in a conversation with Dallas Regional Office, and I believe Elizabeth Odell was also involved with it too. She'd sent a note to them about it. And Chuck called me and said that he felt like that was something that we could get worked out. He was unaware about these jurisdictional boundaries, and I said, well, your predecessors knew about those. So you might get with Miss Butler. She knows about it. So anyway, he said that he was going to visit with him and Mr. Martino. So we're supposed to visit with him about it this week. So just want to share that with you. I wanted to commend Jonna Lewis and her team at Job Corps. Usually after the Christmas break, we usually lose a bunch of students. We lost a few, but there was enough coming in. So when we had our conference call last week, we're still number 4 and number 3, 2. It depends, but we were number 4 on the conference call as far as the number of students in Century School. So Jonna and her staff have done an outstanding job, and I just want to commend them. We also, with the career readiness, Hunter wanted me to make sure that I reported that he's been in contact with the career tech centers, and we've got construction trades, HVAC tech, carpentry, electrical, plumbing, masonry, health, medical, certified medical assistant, certified billing and coding specialist, phlebotomy, and then we've also got security, and these are classes that we are going to be working with the career readiness at Northeast Tech as well as ED Capital Technology, so it covers most of our counties in the 14 counties. We've got staff that are getting phone calls. In fact, Hunter said his phone was ringing off the hook today. So we've got people that are showing an interest in this, and we'll report more as we go along. Our lineman program, we got the cooperative agreement from OSU Tech. We've got to meet with them as well as Indian Capital to get everything squared away on that. We're looking at starting classes on the lineman program about the middle of February, which will probably be around the week of Valentine's Week, if you can remember that. Hunter and George Roach attended a meeting last week with GRDA and Northeast Tech. Northeast Tech is proceeding with doing their own lineman program, and they're working with a group out of Kansas, I believe, and they're looking at starting there sometime in August. So we'll be able to send people there, or we can send them here. So we're working on that. We had Mid-America sends out a quarterly newsletter, and they just got us in their newsletter this past month for the I guess it was the chili cook-off during Manufacturing Week. Anyway, Janice and Keith are in the picture, and I just wanted to share that with you because we brought home 2 of those awards, so we made their newsletter. So
Did we win?
yes, we did. And Keith, I have one of these for you since you're up there in the front on this. I gave Janice one. Hopefully we'll do this again next year. We have pictures from the council orientation. I didn't realize what a major undertaking it was because when we got the schedule and we went to all these different locations, I didn't realize it, but some of us didn't take pictures. Other people did. So we had to say, have you got this one on your phone? So we were having to gather all those pictures. And we have the little thing put together. We're just going to put it on a better quality paper, and it'll go out to you council members that were involved in this. So we'll have this for you at the end of the month. So anyway, that's what Taryn and I guess Taryn's been working on for quite some time. We have a meeting tomorrow with C&B on coordinating for openings, referrals, job fairs, updates on Russellville. And then we're in operation. We've opened our Muskogee office. It's operating. We've got staff over there. And we are still in the process of meeting with Pryor on moving from the location that we're at to another location there in the Mid-America Industrial Park. And been on the phone with Sean Slayton in that group. So hopefully we'll have some information on that maybe by the end of the month. We've got to get our testing center and all these other things moved over there, like our GP classroom and all of our field offices. So we're meeting with them tomorrow on that. That's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Oh, Councilor Deere.
I just want to share, I shared with Diane, she's doing the lineman thing, which is a great program. To feed off of that, we have an electrician's job fair at OSU Tulsa this Thursday, 6 to 8, and they are hiring from the lowest labor to the very top. And if you guys want any information, I'm going to share that with Diane. But that's this Thursday, and it's IBEW out of Tulsa, ran by a Cherokee guy. So just FYI for your people, if they're looking for a job, Thursday, an electrician, even if they don't really know anything about it, they can come in and apply and start there.
Thank you. That's good.
Thank you, Diane.
Are you going to tell them who OSU Tech hired?
No.
Well, you might as well.
Okay, they hired a guy named Junior Cabella, actually kinfolk of mine on the creek side. So he's real good, real personable, you know, like our family are. So, but no, I did check him out. I know his family, but you know me, the business still is the thing of it. I actually called the guys down in the electrician shop and said, "What have you heard about this Junior?" Not letting them know that he was my family, and they said he was highly recommended from 3 different places. So I thought that was good for him to do that. So
Well, we
yes,
like
Diane.
the fact that he said he had relatives in Westville, Oklahoma.
Well, my family, as you've learned, is pretty big. We're a little bit everywhere.
Well,
Councilor Crittenden, I believe you had.
No, sir, I'm just gonna ask him here in a little bit. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Legg.
So you're having to move in Pryor.
the building that we're in, when the alternative school moved out, they told us that there were some leaks in the back part of it, and we didn't actually use the back part of it.
Okay.
But there is a hole in the roof, and it's caused some mildew and some mold buildup, and it's gonna have to be repaired, and it's gonna be very expensive. And,
Is the
Given the
school gonna
fact-
go, is the school gonna move?
the
with you?
school has already moved. They moved
okay,
to the old OSU Tech building there in the park.
The old one?
Yeah. Where, up by the
Yeah, no, I
main
know
campus.
exactly where-
Yeah,
They're not there now?
no, they're not where they were.
Is there anything else? Anybody else?
Good.
That was so.
Thank you.
Happy
Hey,
birthday.
Diane.
Did we sing to her? Is it your birthday?
I'm going, the counselor here would like to ask a question.
Start it off, Sean.
Huh?
Start it off.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Diane. Happy birthday to you. Good lady.
Hey. Yeah, I thought he was going over there to get hold of her, get
Dance
pull her in
with her.
front, yeah.
Birthday dance.
Ron Etheridge, would you like to come share with us what's going on over in the education department?
Okay, good afternoon. We have a lot going on. Of course, it starts second semester. We have a report, but I'm going to try to hit on areas possibly that you do not have, and some of it you may have. But we'll start off with, remember, the removal of bike riders. They now have been rehearsing, so to speak, or working out for about 6 weeks now. We've started that a couple of years ago, and it really helps us because when we actually get the bikes, their training is far better, and they're ready to get on the bikes and go. And so they're with the trainer. The history and language portion, we got started 3 weeks ago. Had to miss this past weekend because of the weather, but they're moving along on it as well. They're trying to communicate in Cherokee when they can, which is good. And so they have a means of communicating. They're on a, Lisa explained it to me, you guys up on technology are well aware of it in a chat room, and able to, when they do their workout on Wednesday night, they're able to kind of communicate to one and say, hey, I've been fine, how about you? You know, and so kind of press each other along toward getting in shape. But anyway, they'll be there when the time comes. And the bike bids are complete. We're waiting on C&B to determine, and we'll be right when we're supposed to be. Todd had big interest in his chief of staff. So he's helped us with it, helped us get along on this, and you know, there's been a lot of publicity there throughout the years, and it will continue to be. It's a good thing. It's a good program that we have. Youth Tribal Council, they met and elected officers January the 4th. They are preparing for the Youth Summit coming up in March the 19th, which is on spring break. The Chota room is where it will be held. They're expecting in the neighborhood of 200 students. Down last year just a little bit because of inclement weather, but we'll get the word out quick, and who knows, some of you may be asked to be present to speak to the group. So just letting you know so you can be prepared for that. The college resources, we're working one advisor shy. Made a transfer here this past week or so here in Cherokee Nation. Very experienced person as well. So we ask that you bear with us. We've got help out of my office that will try to help with them. And I've explained it before. You may have here in a week or two some of your people contact you and say, hey, why have I not been approved yet? Really, if you would, have them contact Chrissy, okay? And what it amounts to is it's like you go in a restaurant. If you're the first one in there, you're the first one we're going to accommodate. And so, and each advisor there's 4 of them, or actually 3 right now working it, has part of the alphabet. And so they take them first come, first serve. And so they're not to be alarmed or whatever, and we'll get to them. It just takes its time. Last fall we were like 47 shy of 5,000, that we served. Now, I'm talking concurrent enrollment and scholarship, both graduate and undergraduate. The concurrent was only 427. Now, concurrent this semester, and I credit it to a couple things, it's up to 474, which is most it's ever been. And I would say the reason behind it, state is paying for their tuition on these, but they get out the easy way. We pay for the fees and books, which is really more than the tuition. And so our numbers are up, and that's what we're taking care of there. The spring renewals, surprisingly, 4,550 have submitted applications and everything. So usually that number's below that. In the first semester, it's up. Some of them try college, and they say, okay, hey, it's not for me. But we pretty well kept our numbers. I mean, because 45, 50 there, and then the concurrent. Just so you know, and new council members, valedictorian and salutatorian checks, and then just to let you know, based on and our schools are aware of this. This is the third year we've done it. It's $1,750, but if they have multiple valedictorians, multiple salutatorians, we basically divide the money and disperse of it that way. But their applications are due. I mean, they've got a deadline, but we'll start taking applications March 1. So a lot of times you're asked as council members to be in the school when the awards are handed out, where you can help in the disbursement of the checks. So the schools in your area, I'm sure that you can be in contact with them. They may be in contact with you regarding that. Now also, Chrissy, and you're aware of this now, I mean, because you've been asking us this, you want feedback regarding the numbers of graduates and what they're doing after they graduate and so forth. So Chrissy's doing a good job working with Cherokee Nation IT and HR and government relations and trying to get these figures and everything for you. So, you know, she is working on it. And I will tell you this too, we have done a lot better job concerning, because that's her primary work, is being the manager of college relations, and we get the information out to people. We let them know. We give them multiple reminders. So just so you know. Language. History today, at 1 o'clock today, we had a television show come out from Rogers State University with the Cherokee Language Telecourse. And it's being taught by Wade Blevins. When Wade was working with Johnson O'Malley, I was able to observe his teaching, and does a very good job. You know, knowing a specific subject matter and teaching it is two different things. He knows the subject matter, and he knows how to teach it. And so you know, go on there sometime. I was told it's 35 in the Tulsa, Rogers County area. I don't know what station it would be here right now. But after you've been there, you can go online and through learncherokee.org and test yourself regarding, you know, how well you've done after the subject was taught for that particular day. You know, if you haven't, as a council member, been out to some of our sites, our community sites that we teach the language, you ought to go do that as well. I've been, and we have some people that try to get down on the level that I need for it to be taught so I can understand. And they have a curriculum now. I mean, and it's used, and it's used by all of them, and they do a very good job. So if you haven't, you might check with Roy and find out where these are set up this spring, and go attend one. I attended one that Dennis Sixkiller taught over by Locust Grove. I saw more turkey out there that night. It made me want to go back. I can tell you right now. I mean, but anyway, that's besides being taught our language. The Cherokee language program staff, our immersion staff, and our master apprentice staff last week, right down here, just met with State Department of Education, and they're along with Pearson Testing, and they're redevising our test in Cherokee, state test. We've talked about this in here before, that it's too difficult for even some of our own people to pass that are fluent speakers, and so we're working on it, and they're meeting again in April. So Roy will have a better report when he reports here, in a few days.
Excuse me, Ron?
Yes.
Now, who's meeting on that?
Do what now?
Who's meeting on that? Pearson and who?
At Pearson Testing, and in the State Department of Education, and then all of our language people, immersion, and then our language people up and down my hall, and then our master apprentice language.
Well, that's the Cherokee test.
Yes,
that
yes.
Employees and different ones.
It's a
right?
test, yeah, to be certified and be able to say, okay, this person can teach the,
That's a big deal, isn't it?
Oh, yeah,
That's
very
a
big
Big
deal.
deal.
Yeah.
Sorry for that. Thank you.
okay. We have some meetings that have been set up, one in Owasso, Blackgum, and Chelsea coming up. I can assure you, we will cover. Education will be there to cover and do our part to help you with your meetings. Just letting you know, the only way you can help us is once you know, please let us know. So, because believe it or not, there are times we have people going here and there. Just like Miss Cherokee, I don't think can make the first one because she's gone to that large meeting. So anyway, when you know, let us know. The Johnson O'Malley, you read the report, lots of robotics in January. It's a big thing. We have new schools every year. Jump aboard. Camp Cherokee, we'll send out the information in March. The only question mark is Dwight Mission, and there will be one down there in that area. We have Plan B if that be the case where we have to. State Johnson O'Malley Conference be hosted by Chickasaw Nation in Thackerville. So just to let you know that. We will very soon start out. It'll actually be probably in March to our respective sites in the 14 county area, visiting probably around 10 sites, and we will be discussing with our schools. Basically just a consultation, collaboration type meeting where they, we ask them, what are you doing with your Title VI money? Because we're told to by the State Department of Education, we're told to by the federal government, and we need to know what they're doing. And they explain to us what they're doing. They explain to us, they show us the minutes of their title meeting, and then we sign off, and we have documentation, they have documentation, but that's going to happen very soon. We hit 10 different spots. We get close enough to every school where they don't have to drive very far. We're trying to be accommodating there. So that's getting ready to happen. I just got a sheet back that shows our schools in our 14 county area. And what it is if they make over $40,000 in Title VI money, okay, they fit in one category. If they have over 50% of our tribe, they fit in one category. And anyway, of that, we have 21 of 37 schools that fit both those categories. 21 are in our 14 county area. We have 27 that qualified by surpassing the $40,000 Title VI money, and then we have 18 that of the 49 that are over 50%. That over 50% population of Cherokee students in it. So anyway, then the last thing. Intertribal, seen some of you there, and we had good meetings in education Wednesday evening and Thursday. So We were the host, of course, and anyway, Harley, appreciate your daughter being there and supporting us. She's on the board there at Haskell. Give us a review, and we had several good reports, very good reports. Questions for me?
I've got a question for you real quick. Can you update us on any personnel changes I'm hearing about at the Heritage Center?
It would be a matter that would need to go in executive session.
Can you confirm there's been changes?
I can confirm, yes, there's been a change, yes.
And if we were to need to talk to the director of the Heritage Center, who would we be talking to? Is that executive level stuff?
If
I
you
don't
were-
hardly see that as executive level stuff.
If you were to talk to the director,
Acting director.
Yeah, who is the acting director right now?
as far as I know, it would have to be the president of the board.
And that is?
That's Brenda Partain.
Okay, do we have contact information for Ms. Partain?
Gail will have it.
I can get it for you.
Okay, because right now, I wouldn't have known who to have contacted if I needed something relating to them.
I have a comment. Wait, you're through.
Yes.
Superintendent Hoffmeyer, she made some good comments there the other day. And it was really a pleasant surprise to me when she talked about the graduation rate for the state. It was like 84%. And then when I texted you and said, what's our graduation rate at Sequoia High School? And the text I got back was like 95% graduation rate.
One year, I know I asked Jolene, she says 100,
Yeah.
so that's why I put 95 to 100. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and
We've come a long ways there, and it's good to have that kind of data when you go out and talk to. It'd be neat for all of us to have that information on the various schools in our district, and I guess, is that compiled somewhere? We can just pull that up.
we'd have to go through the State Department of Education.
Okay, and we
to
should be
get
able to do that.
Now, we have, the good thing about State Superintendent Hoffmeister is she has allowed the executive directors of the 5 civilized tribes and the executive directors of education to meet with her quarterly.
Yeah.
And so we get that information. And we're to meet actually next week.
Okay.
And that's why I missed the previous meeting, because we were meeting. So I'll try to get that information.
But she's a go-getter. I mean, and she's very active in meeting with our tribes there. That's a good thing.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Counselor Legg.
So if we have 3 valedictorians at one school, do they get $333 each?
You have 3,
Valedictorians?
oh, well, yeah, that's
They all
what,
get
well, what we
1,000.
would do, we would take the 7, however many of the 5, I mean, the 2 spots, valedictorian, salutatorian. Okay, and we'll just basically divide it. I mean, we've been able to work a formula for you if you need the formula worked or whatever, but the local district's gonna be the one to, sign off on what they've done, you know. Yeah, it was a difficult thing to do. I don't mind telling you the first year. I mean, that was, but see, there were lots and lots of valedictorians. I mean, my son-in-law's the assistant principal at Claremore, and they had close to 25 valedictorians. So, I mean, so anyway.
There goes my next comment.
Are there other questions? Yes, Sean.
On your numbers that you're getting wrong, will it show concurrent if they started like as a junior and just kind of tell how they did, if they graduated, or you'd think if they were going to go the trouble of doing concurrent that there'd be some pretty good percentages of them graduating. 'Cause, when I was in 11th grade, I wasn't going to do that for nothing. But
Right.
will that be can we get that in the studies, kind of tracking the concurrent?
Okay, we'll work on it.
And also, can we get the number of one-time $2,000 getter? Do we know that already, or can we get it?
Okay, we'll work on that as well. That's good.
That'd be interesting
Yeah.
to see how many of them come up here and get 2,000 and, you know, never apply again. That's just something interesting to me. Camp Cherokee, did you ever visit with the folks at Bale about that, Mr. Etheridge? About Camp Cherokee? Maybe a better question is, what's the closest?
Okay,
one
I
to
know,
Adair County?
and I know we told you we would too, I think. I mean, because the closest for Adair County, of course, would be Sequoyah County, there at Dwight Mission, or if we have to, possibly Salsa, or at, out there at our Camp Cherokee, at Heart of the Hills out here. That'd be the closest site. But I will take it back. It's not too late to possibly look into doing that this year, because we told you we'd look at it.
Well, pardon me, my ignorance on it. About how far is it from Dwight Mission, would you say, to like the Bale area, maybe the Greasy area, Delaware? What would you say, Jim?
35, 40 miles maybe?
25, 30 miles.
I really wasn't sure on that.
Yeah. But we will. We'll look, I'll visit with Mark, and I'll have him do some research regarding
just
that.
throw their name in the hat.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you too, Ron. Yeah. A lot of times I'll call and you'll get my questions answered pretty quick, and you've been good about that. So thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Are there other questions? I see that our Chief of Staff would like to intercede. Yes, Chief of
If I
Staff.
may, two things I wanted to point out in Ron's comments. First off, to remember the removal bike ride. When I started working with that and reinstituted in 2009, we literally, I felt like we threw it together and to watch where it's grown and become, and that they're teaching the history before they ever leave on a bike ride so that they're well versed when they get to the spots. They are doing as much as they can in Cherokee and teaching them. And so to me, what they've taken that program and transformed it into is much, much better than what I had envisioned when I first started working on it. So, you know, as you watch it, and I've made the remark several times, if you watch your kid grow up every day, you don't get to see the growth and the change. And when you get to see a cousin or a nephew and you haven't seen them in a long time, you see how much they've changed and developed. And that's, to me, what this bike ride is like, is, you know, stepping away from it for a little while and then seeing what it's become now. And it's, you watch them, now they're in college and they're doing things beyond what you really imagined. So very proud of the work that they've done over the years. Secondly, the thing that he talked about there with working with HR and IT, I've asked members of IT to work with education to try to develop better processes and help them with their system and phone systems. I would like to have contact with each of our scholarship recipients throughout the semesters so that we're not just talking to them at the end of the semester when it's time to turn in additional paperwork or a new file, so that we can actually try to develop these students. So we're looking at that whole system as a whole, and we may come to you with some additional requests on how to deal with that, whether it be staff or additional resources in the future. So just want to make you aware that we are looking at that as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there others? I don't see any others. There is. I want to make a comment about the Cherokee One. Today was the first day that it was aired on television. I believe it was aired 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock. I'm not sure. But the Channel 6 came out today at 1 o'clock during the noon hour and actually did a story about the first showing of it, which is great. I actually did an interview with Channel 6 during the noon hour down here in the little room by Skype about it coming out. And it's something that if you have not gone and looked at it online, you must do this. This is a phenomenal partnership between the Cherokee Nation and RSU, bringing in the talents of our language specialists to make sure that the opportunity to learn language is put in front of as many people as is possible with this platform. So I applaud your efforts, and I applaud RSU's efforts. They've been phenomenal, and this all came out of a conversation from a lunch conversation that Councilor Taylor and I had with the director of RSU. And you just never know that something really great will happen. But 48 episodes have already been recorded and are sitting there on the shelf ready to go. And they are good quality. You'll be proud of what you see. So go to RSU TV and you can see every episode that's been released so far. And I think they're up to 10 or 12 episodes that are actually online right now. So go, look, you'll be glad you did. And thank you guys for all your efforts on that. Verna Thompson, I see you're in the room, and you always have a friendly face for us.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you.
I have a good report today. The safe room paid for itself twice Friday. They wheel the babies over there in the cribs that have rollers on there, and I want to commend Chad Cochran, who is in charge of our health and safety efforts. They got all the children in there, plus 15 parents that were picking up the children that day. And I was just showing Secretary some pictures. We had plenty of room for all of the children, the staff, and those parents. And they kept them busy, and it was the cutest thing. I said, well, were the children scared because they were moving them so fast? And they said they had them in the crib, and then they put a mat on top of the crib because it was raining, and they were laughing and and they made a game out of it. But it has paid for itself in one day.
I applaud you for I thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you.
Yeah, the staff did a wonderful job. They're going to do a dry run just to see if they can tweak some things along the way. One of the things is, if you remember at Thanksgiving, the grounds were all dug up from replacing the sewer lines and the water lines. Well, that project is complete, but now they're in the cleanup phase, which means they're still patching up sections of sidewalks that are missing. Those are done, but it's muddy and soft, so the cribs wouldn't roll very quickly on those. So I think some of them might have ended up carrying them. But those sidewalks will be completed by the end of this month, and we're just going to tweak the whole operation again. But we're so proud of them, and I'm sure the other sites use their safe rooms too that are attached to their buildings. The children's village is in the center of the playground, so they have to go out and run. But it was a neat thing. I wanted to share that with you. Any questions?
Any questions for Verna today? Wow.
I know.
None. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
and thank you for that story. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you can get one, did you?
Leroy Qualls, would you like to share with us all the good that's going on at Sequoia High School?
Verna, you do owe one of our council members a pie.
I missed that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Wes got it.
Wes got both.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see everyone, and Happy New Year. Hopefully you got my report there. There's a couple of corrections I need to make on tonight. It has the report has us hosting Fort Gibson. That's in freshman basketball, not high school. And I saw one schedule that had us both away games for Okmulgee. We actually play at home this Friday against Okmulgee. So
What time the boys play?
7:30.
Here Friday.
Wrestling, we host tomorrow night against Dakota. That's not in there, but I thought that was worthy of mentioning. I would say I'm proud of Chrissy Marsh. Heard Mr. Etheridge bragging on her. She's a former player of mine, and as many of my former players make me look good. So I know she doesn't do it intentionally, but I do think that she does a great job for you guys in higher education. I know she's very reliable, and you got a really good person there working in that area. Our high school basketball girls are number one, and I was looking at the poll voting. They lead in that category by over 100 points. That very seldom happens. Very seldom happens. So they're very solid number one. They beat the number 2 team in 3A in the finals at the Mid-America Classic by 10. So right now they're on a go. I hope that they stay on a roll. They also beat Adair by 20 at their place. Adair's number 4 at the time, and Our boys are number 3. So our basketball season's going well. Wrestlers are doing great. They beat Hilldale in a duel here recently, and they've been filling all the weight slots in, and that was been one of our problems of the past. When you don't have as many participants, you have too many forfeits, and it's hard to win a duel. You can't win a duel. But things are going well. You know, our kids and our players and the coaches and teachers are making Sequoia look good, and I'm very grateful for that. Couple of things. One thing that might interest you is the application process will be starting up pretty soon for 8th grade or any other student. Our 8th grade day is typically the first Monday or Wednesday of February. Some things to keep in mind, applications can be picked up at 8th grade day, or they'll be available online by February the 15th. Some dates to remember. They're due by May 1st. And that's something that a kid would want to get done, is if they plan on coming to Sequoia, have their application in and make sure it's completed. What I suggest to the parents or the students is when they bring it in, just say, hey, look at this and see if there's anything I need. Because it's a lengthy application, and you know as well as I do, if an application is not complete, sometimes it'll go over in this other stack. So to avoid doing that, I would let your parents or your students know about that. And that's one thing I advise kids on. The notification process, letters go out the first week of June to let them know whether they've made it in or not. And usually there's 2 selections that go on, preliminary, and then you look and see what you've got left and go ahead and admit other students if there's room. And other than that, and the report I've turned in, that's all I've got, unless you have questions of me.
Counselor Crettenton.
Sir, you were real quick, and who, is it the BIE or Cherokee Nation that tells us how many we can accept?
It's the school. It's pretty much the school and Cherokee Nation, I guess, teamwork in that.
What's that number right now, Leroy, that we can accept here?
Somewhere around 400 probably, or a little less.
And
Typically, room-wise, it's about what we're capable of handling without being strained too much.
size-wise?
Size-wise, yes.
Every now and then somebody will ask me, how come they don't let more people in? And so is it pretty much a size issue, Pastor?
It is, and I think it was either my first or second year back, we turned away close to 100 kids altogether. I think it was 86. And I remember reporting to the council and saying, you know, I wish we could take them all.
Is that and I know this is a bigger discussion than right here, but like, just to get it in my feeble brain for a good answer, like, if we had more room, classroom size, and,
Sure.
that.
Sure,
that's-
and it's a catch-22. We've got so much square footage allotted for the students that we have. And that's kind of rolls into our funding also,
Right.
on how much money we get every year. If we were to have a boom, let's say, in robotics right now at this point, I don't know how many of you have been in that classroom, but it's pretty congested and confined. And I applaud the teacher, I mean, not just this year's teacher, but in years past, of keeping things organized to where these kids can store things and still move around in there and get things done in a robotics classroom. If I remember right, that classroom is around 80 years old. We had repairs done to the steps in the past year or year and a half to try to even keep it safe.
About our dorms, I've asked this before, but.
We've
are they
got
at
plenty of
full
rooms in
capacity?
dorms. No, we're not at capacity at all. Times have changed, and let me explain why. When I first came in '96, we had around 200 in the dorms, but it was mostly kids from out of state. I received several phone calls that year, a couple from probation officers wanting to get kids in, and I felt like, for one, held up a convenience store. I didn't want anybody running around campus.
Exactly.
And that, with that going on, and basically, we had a lot of work to do to make it more presentable to our local families. Because I guarantee you, my two little boys didn't run down the hall by themselves when I first got there. There's no way. Nor would I let anyone else's two little boys run down the hall. With a lot of work and things, the way times evolved, it's become a very good school. I'm not saying they weren't a good school back then. It was different, folks. Let me tell you. You're trying to hold two big old football players from fighting and about get hit in the face with a punch at the same time and getting them to the office. And then chasing kids. I mean,
We've got room in our dorms to keep them. We just don't have room in the classrooms to teach them.
there's plenty of room in the dorms because of the population change that we've endured. There's plenty of room in some classrooms, let me put it that way.
Well, I'm sure everybody would like to visit some more, and I'm not trying to be sneaky or clever about those questions. It's just something that comes up from time to time.
And that's a very good question. And you know, you have to know a little bit of the history and what we have before you can really give a valid answer.
Right. Well,
And,
we can
I
do
know
that
Speaker Bird's been up several times, and Councilman Austin came up and visited with me that one day. And I don't know, and Mr. No Fire went to school there. I didn't chase him down the hall because he was a good kid.
I was the one hunting them when I was
He was
little.
too fast.
He's too fast.
Yeah, I'll do that one.
But, those are really good questions.
Well, I'll just come up and visit sometime and kind of,
Yeah, or
Okay.
call, whatever, anytime, you're more than welcome.
but I appreciate what you all do down there. Appreciate it.
Councilor Byrd?
Thank you.
Yes, back in '95, when I brought Mr. Qualls in, he was at Holbert. And a lot of our kids were from out of state.
Right.
And what we did immediately was implement a different curriculum, grade point average, in order to be in that school. And if you'd been kicked out of another school, then you couldn't come to Sequoia. And we made that rule immediately. So
Well,
what
that's
that
one
did-
thing that really was different with Sequoia, and forgive me for cutting in, but I had several calls from a time or two from people from the other school. One time I had to call the police department to find out what the kid actually did, and we didn't want to even go there.
I remember.
It was just
Police
tough.
told me, but the school
It was tough
couldn't.
making that transition from a BIA school back then, not a BIA is what it's called, into a Cherokee Nation school. But once we got control of it, gradually the kids now come from Woodall, Grandview, Briggs, Zion, Marietta. It's a whole different, we got local kids now. So back then, the kids out of state, it was nothing to have 150 kids in that dorm. You have your day students. So it's changed somewhat for the good in ways, but I still don't, and this is just my thinking, we still need to give an opportunity for that average kid that can't make it anywhere else. We don't need to shut the door on them at Sequoia. And we're right there on the border there because our academics are really good. I've been up there for the last 4 or 5 graduations, and it's always valedictorian going to Brown University, valedictorian going to Harvard. I'm going, wow. What happened today is when a C average from NICUT kid, what are we doing with those kids? So there's still a lot of, it's a process there. We've got a lot of good things going on, but we still got a lot of kids that we're not accommodating. That's all of us here in the education field. There's some good things happening there, and with this joint venture proposal that we'll vote on tonight in council, maybe that'll open some doors for us and some opportunities to expand and build a bigger facility. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Are there other, yes?
Just kind of reiterating what
I'm
Speaker Joe was saying, and my dad, he was brought in there whenever he was a counselor, whenever Mr. Qualls was there. It changed greatly in those few years, and it went to where as a school, whenever I went there, we had less school fights, we had less teen pregnancy than even Tahlequah, and that was per capita. So we became a really great role model school to be in, but yet we were still accepting those kids from Case Springs that needed a dorm because they didn't have that structure and background at home. So we were giving those kids an opportunity to succeed. And I think what he was saying is that it is kind of this cusp that we've done some great things at Sequoia, and we're kind of at that crossroads where we could be leaving some of those kids behind that I went to school with that didn't have that opportunity. I mean, I know the grade point average, I think, has even changed since I was there. I may have not even got into school nowadays that I did back then. And I think that, like I said, the joint venture thing, I think it's going to be a great thing, and I hope that it brings those opportunities to relieve and make those things
Maybe some
possible.
more local.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Thank you.
Counselor Dobbins.
Thank you, Chair. Leroy, I saw in the paper the football redistricting for the next 2 years.
Yes, sir.
Is that a change at all for Sequoia? Are the same opponents? It's for 2 years too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's we bumped up to 3A again, and we picked up Victory Christian, I think, and it'll be tough.
So you're
Ouch.
moving from 2A to 3A in football?
Right, in football.
That's going to be a difference,
Yeah. It'd be very tough.
because your 7 district opponents are all going to be bigger schools than you played this past year, in theory.
Some of them were, non-district last year. That will be
Locked in
district,
For 2 years.
right.
Thank you, Chair.
Is that all the questions? I think that's all the questions.
Good report.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time today. Thank you. I see there's no old business pending and no new business pending. Any announcements? The chairman to my right says that he's going to start his meeting at 5 minutes after. So take a quick break. Next meeting is February 10th. Do I have a motion
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Aye. Change it.